It was a quiet evening in 1968 when two engineers, Robert Noyce and Gordon Moore, sat at a small table, deep in thought. In a world where computers were large and cumbersome, they saw a future of tiny, powerful machines. They knew something revolutionary was about to unfold. Intel was born from their ambition to change the world of computing forever. Little did anyone know, these two men were about to create a company that would go on to define the technology industry. But the path ahead wasn't going to be easy. In the early years, Intel was a small, struggling company, relying heavily on its ability to innovate. The team had a clear mission: to build a semiconductor company that could change the world. By 1971, Intel unveiled the first microprocessor, the 4004. It was a small chip, but its potential was immense. This tiny microprocessor would become the heart of countless computers to come, setting Intel on a course for dominance in the world of technology. But would the world embrace this tiny revolution? The 1970s were a time of rapid technological change. As Intel's microprocessor began to gain recognition, the company's growth skyrocketed. However, not everyone was convinced that Intel's chips were the future. Large corporations like IBM and Motorola began to enter the market, threatening Intel's position. But rather than retreating, Intel doubled down on its innovation. In 1974, Intel introduced the 8080 microprocessor, which was faster, more reliable, and more powerful than its predecessors. This was the turning point that propelled Intel into the spotlight. By the 1980s, Intel's dominance in the semiconductor industry was becoming undeniable. The launch of the 386 microprocessor in 1985 brought about a new era of computing. It was faster, more efficient, and capable of handling more complex tasks than anything before it. Intel had successfully transitioned from a small chip maker to the powerhouse behind the personal computer revolution. Yet, despite their success, a storm was brewing. Competitors were rising, and the industry was becoming more cutthroat. Would Intel's reign continue? The 1990s were a pivotal decade for Intel. The company faced fierce competition from the likes of AMD and other chip manufacturers. Intel's answer to this challenge was the Pentium microprocessor, introduced in 1993. The Pentium was a leap forward in performance, and it quickly became the gold standard for personal computers. But the competition wasn't finished yet. As Intel expanded its reach globally, its rivals began to target the high-performance computing market. The stakes had never been higher, and Intel had to keep innovating to stay ahead. As the turn of the century approached, Intel was at a crossroads. The internet boom was changing the way people used computers, and chip makers needed to evolve. Intel responded with the introduction of the Pentium 4, released in 2000. It was the company's most powerful chip yet, capable of handling the growing demands of digital content and internet applications. However, Intel's biggest challenge lay ahead. Despite its advancements, Intel was about to face a challenge from an unlikely competitor, AMD, which was rapidly gaining market share. The 2000s were a time of fierce battles in the semiconductor industry. AMD's aggressive pricing and improved performance began to chip away at Intel's dominance. Intel responded with its core processors, which delivered impressive energy efficiency and performance. The Core i3, i5, and i7 processors became the benchmark for personal computers, offering consumers unprecedented speed and power. Despite these advancements, Intel's reputation was on the line, and the competition wasn't backing down. Could Intel continue to lead in this rapidly evolving industry? The emergence of mobile computing in the 2010s forced Intel to pivot once again. Smartphones and tablets were quickly overtaking personal computers, and Intel found itself struggling to keep up with the likes of ARM, the company behind the processors powering mobile devices. Intel made a bold move by investing heavily in mobile chips, but the competition was fierce and the market was shifting fast. In an attempt to regain its footing, Intel redefined its strategy, focusing on diversifying its portfolio beyond just traditional computing chips. Intel's journey through the 2010s was not without setbacks, but it also saw triumphs. In 2014, Intel took a giant leap forward with its breakthrough in 3D chip technology, which allowed for even more powerful and energy-efficient processors. This was a game-changer in the world of computing. However, as technology progressed and new markets emerged, Intel had to rethink its entire approach once again. With AI, quantum computing, and 5G technology on the horizon, Intel found itself at a critical juncture, and the future was more uncertain than ever. As Intel entered the 2020s, the company had fully embraced the digital transformation that was sweeping the globe. From cloud computing to artificial intelligence, Intel's chips were powering the next generation of technology. Despite its challenges over the decades, Intel had proven its resilience. Its innovations continued to shape the future of computing, and it remained a leader in the semiconductor industry. But the battle for supremacy in the tech world was far from over. Intel knew it had to stay ahead of the curve if it was to maintain its position as a global leader.